The message arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning, transmitted through the quantum communication array that humanity had carefully kept hidden from galactic observation. The Raxan Concordat's ultimatum was precise, clinical, and absolutely mistaken in its fundamental assumptions. Ambassador Sarah Chen watched a holographic projection with practiced neutrality, though her eyes betrayed a hint of amusement. The Raxan diplomat, with its crystalline exoskeleton and luminescent neural pathways, delivered what it clearly believed to be Earth's death sentence. "Your species has been evaluated and found wanting," the beam announced, mandibles clicking in what Sarah recognized as smug satisfaction. "Submit to integration into the Concordat within one planetary rotation, or face immediate technological remediation." The United Earth Defense Council chamber remained silent as the transmission ended. Sarah exchanged glances with Admiral James Rodriguez, whose weather-worn face crinkled with the ghost of a smile. The Raxans, like so many before them, had made the classic mistake of confusing humanity's public face with its true capabilities. "They're scanning us with third-generation quantum arrays," Lieutenant Commander Patel reported from her station, dark fingers dancing across holographic controls. "Shall we maintain the facade? Let them see what they expect to see," Sarah replied, straightening her charcoal gray uniform. "How long until they detect the inconsistencies?" "At their current rate of analysis, about 6 hours. They're thorough, I'll give them that." The Earth they saw was carefully curated. A patchwork of nation-states with visible political tensions, modest orbital installations, and technological development that suggested a civilization barely reaching for the stars. The reality, hidden beneath layers of quantum camouflage and dimensional shifting, was something else entirely. "Their fleet composition?" Admiral Rodriguez inquired, his Chilean accent more pronounced under stress. 17 capital ships, standard Concordat battle formation. They're positioning for a show of force, not actual combat. Their shields are at minimal power, weapon systems in standby. Lieutenant Commander Patel's lips curved into a predatory smile. "They really think this is going to be easy." Sarah moved to the center of the chamber, her reflection rippling across the obsidian floor. The council members watched her with quiet anticipation. They had prepared for this moment since humanity first detected quantum communications from deep space centuries ago. "The Raxan Concordat prides itself on being a rational actor," she began. "They believe they've discovered a primitive species suitable for uplifting into their empire. Their society is built on strict hierarchies and technological superiority. They're about to learn that humanity's greatest advantage isn't our technology. It's our capacity for calculated misdirection." Admiral Rodriguez nodded. "Initiate Protocol Odysseus." "Not yet." Sarah raised a hand. "Let's give them their 6 hours. Let them complete their scans, file their reports, commit to their assumptions. The greater their certainty, the more effective our response will be." The next 6 hours unfolded with clockwork precision. The Raxan fleet maintained its position, conducting increasingly detailed scans of Earth's infrastructure. They observed what appeared to be panicked meetings of world leaders, monitored civilian communications showing fear and confusion, and detected military forces scrambling in disorganized patterns. All of it carefully choreographed. At precisely the 5-hour, 58-minute mark, Lieutenant Commander Patel's console chimed. They found the first contradiction. Their quantum arrays are detecting traces of our actual energy signature. Sarah straightened. "Right on schedule, Admiral." Rodriguez's voice carried the weight of centuries of preparation. "Initiate Protocol Odysseus." Across the solar system, humanity's true face began to emerge. The quantum camouflage that had hidden thousands of orbital defense platforms began to shift. Dimensional barriers protecting Earth's true technological infrastructure started to dissolve. Most importantly, the neural network that connected every human defense system, every weapon platform, and every military installation flickered to life. The Raxan fleet's sensors registered the changes immediately. Their formation tightened, shields snapping to full power as weapons charge. But they had already made their critical mistake. They had positioned themselves exactly where Earth's defense grid had predicted they would. Sarah opened a channel to the Raxan flagship. The same crystalline being appeared, though its smugness had been replaced by visible confusion. "Concordat vessel," she began, her voice carrying the full authority of United Earth. "You have entered restricted space and issued threats against a sovereign species. We appreciate the opportunity your scans have provided us to test our camouflage systems. Your results will help us improve our deception protocols for future visitors." The Raxan diplomat's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation. "Impossible. Our preliminary scans were exactly as accurate as we wanted them to be." Sarah completed the thought. "Humanity has a long history of preparing for threats from beyond our world. We found it prudent to appear less advanced than we are. Your civilization judges others by their apparent technological level. We judge them by how they choose to use that technology." The chamber's holographic displays showed the Raxan fleet's energy signatures spiking as they registered the true extent of Earth's orbital defense network. Their sensors were now detecting the massive installation hidden in Venus's atmosphere, the fleet bases concealed in Jupiter's moons, and the web of quantum-linked defense platforms that could redirect the energy of the sun itself. "You have 1 Earth hour to withdraw your forces and transmit a formal apology," Sarah continued. "After that, we will be forced to demonstrate exactly why humanity chose to hide its capabilities rather than display them. The choice, as they say, is yours." As the transmission ended, Admiral Rodriguez turned to Sarah. "They'll report this to their hierarchy. Earth will no longer be able to maintain its previous cover." "Good," Sarah replied, watching the Raxan fleet's energy signatures fluctuate as they processed their new reality. "It's time for humanity to step onto the galactic stage, but we'll do it on our terms, not theirs." The next hour would determine whether the Raxan Concordat had the wisdom to recognize their mistake, or the hubris to learn about humanity's capabilities the hard way. Either way, Earth was ready. They had been ready for centuries. The Raxan fleet remained motionless as the deadline approached. In the council chamber, holographic displays tracked countless data streams, fleet movements, energy signatures, quantum communications bursts heading toward Raxan space. But most intriguing were the biochemical readings from the Raxan crews themselves. "Their stress indicators are off the charts," Dr. Maya Patil observed, her cybernetic eye interface scanning through layers of biometric data. "Their hierarchical society doesn't handle paradigm shifts well. Each ship captain is waiting for orders, but their command structure is paralyzed by conflicting protocols." Admiral Rodriguez studied the tactical overlay. "They're trained to respond to technological threats with overwhelming force, but they've never encountered a situation where their threat assessment has been this fundamentally wrong." The Raxan's original scans had categorized Earth as a Class II civilization, barely capable of interplanetary travel. Now their sensors were detecting energy signatures consistent with Class IV technology, possibly higher. Their entire strategic doctrine was built around technological superiority. Without it, they had no playbook to follow. 45 minutes into their deadline, the first sign of response came, but not from the fleet. Deep space sensors detected a massive quantum surge as a new vessel emerged from faster-than-light travel. Its design was distinctly different from the military vessels, more ornate, its crystalline structure laced with pulsing bands of light that denoted high political status. "Concordat diplomatic vessel," Lieutenant Commander Chen identified. "Looks like we raided a first speaker. They're not taking any chances." Sarah nodded, watching as the new arrival positioned itself carefully outside the range of Earth's now visible defense grid. A transmission request came through on the quantum network. The being that appeared in the holographic projection was unlike the military commander. Its crystalline form was elaborately faceted, neural pathways forming complex patterns that humans had learned to recognize as indicators of age and authority. "I am First Speaker Varix of the Raxan Concordat," it began, its translator producing perfect Earth standard. We request a brief extension of your deadline to facilitate proper diplomatic discourse. Sarah's response was measured. Granted. But our defense grid will remain at full readiness. Understood. The first speaker's neural patterns shifted in what humanities scanologists had identified as discomfort. Our preliminary assessment of your civilization was incomplete. This raises questions that our Concordat must address, such as why we chose to hide our true capabilities. Sarah offered, among others, your technology suggests development parallel to or exceeding our own in several areas, yet you maintained an elaborate deception. This behavior is difficult for us to comprehend. Sarah gestured, and the chamber's AI projected Earth's historical archives into the shared holographic space. Humanity's path to the stars was shaped by our literature as much as our science. Centuries before we achieved spaceflight, we imagined countless scenarios of first contact. Many ended in conflict, particularly when technological disparities existed between civilizations. The projection showed scenes from Earth's history, the fall of civilizations to technologically superior invaders, the subjugation of cultures, the pattern of conquest that had repeated throughout human development. We learned from our own history, Sarah continued. When we detected the first quantum communications from deep space, we made a choice. We would advance our technology in secret, presenting a carefully crafted external image, while preparing for every possible first contact scenario. The first speaker's neural patterns pulsed with what the xenologist's database identified as intense curiosity. Your entire civilization maintained this deception. For how long? 347 Earth years, Sarah replied. Every human knows the protocols from childhood. What you saw as political divisions were carefully maintained theaters. Our apparent technological limitations were precisely calculated to avoid drawing undue attention. The chamber's displays showed the Raxan fleet's energy signatures stabilizing as the immediate crisis protocols gave way to information-gathering modes. The first speaker's next words confirmed the shift in approach. The Concordat's protocols for civilizational contact are based on technological assessment. Your deception has revealed a significant flaw in this methodology. We request an exchange of diplomatic missions to prevent future misunderstandings. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. We would welcome such an exchange, with certain conditions. First, the immediate withdrawal of your military fleet. Second, acknowledgement of Earth's sovereign status and territorial claims throughout our solar system. Third, agreement to engage through diplomatic channels rather than military demonstrations. The first speaker's facets caught the light as it turned to observe the still frozen military fleet. Your conditions are acceptable. However, the Concordat must understand. How did you advance your technology so rapidly while maintaining such comprehensive deception? That, Sarah replied, is a much longer conversation. One best had through proper diplomatic channels rather than under the shadow of military threats. As the first speaker began coordinating the fleet's withdrawal, Admiral Rodriguez approached Sarah's position. They'll be back, he said quietly, with more questions, more diplomats, and more subtle ways of probing our capabilities. Of course they will, Sarah agreed, but they'll do it through diplomatic channels, bound by protocols and agreements. And in the meantime, they'll spread the word to other spacefaring civilizations. The humans are not what they appear to be. And the defense grid remains at full readiness, just like it has for the past 3 centuries. Sarah watched as the Raxan fleet began its withdrawal maneuvers. We didn't survive and thrive as a species by dropping our guard when threats turned to talks. In the depths of space, humanity's vast network of sensors tracked the departing vessels while simultaneously monitoring the quantum communications surge as the news spread across the galaxy. Earth was no longer pretending to be a primitive world. The real question was, how many other civilizations out there were playing the same game? 2 weeks after the Raxan fleet's withdrawal, Earth's quantum networks detected an intrusion attempt so subtle it almost slipped through their defensive screens. Almost. Dr. Maya Patel's cybernetic interface flashed as she tracked the attack signature through the quantum substrate. "Interesting," she murmured, fingers dancing across holographic controls. "They're using seventh-dimension quantum tunneling. Very advanced, very elegant, and completely predictable." Around her in the Cyber Defense Center, AI systems and human operators worked in seamless coordination. The attack wasn't just being blocked. It was being studied, dissected, and reverse-engineered in real time. The Raxan's diplomatic overtures were a cover, Admiral Rodriguez observed from his command station. "They're testing our defenses." Sarah Chen watched the intrusion attempt's signature ripple across the quantum visualization display. "No, this isn't the Concordat. The attack pattern is too individualistic. Someone else is taking advantage of our revealed status to probe our capabilities." The attacker's quantum signatures suddenly shifted, attempting to mask their origin. But Earth's defense systems had already traced it back to its source. The holographic display zoomed out to show a star system 40 light-years from Earth. "The Meridian Collective," Sarah identified. "They've been watching the Concordat's diplomatic channels. Interesting that they'd make their move so quickly." "Their social structure is based on information trading," Dr. Patel added, her cybernetic eye scanning historical data. "The revelation of our true capabilities would be irresistible to them." Sarah's lips curved into a slight smile. "Then let's give them something to trade." Initiative Protocol Perseus. The defense grid's response was immediate but subtle. Instead of simply blocking the intrusion, it began feeding carefully crafted data through the quantum tunnel the attackers had created. False technical specifications, misleading energy signatures, and most importantly, hints of vulnerabilities that didn't actually exist. "They're taking the bait," Dr. Patel confirmed. "Their quantum processors are consuming our data at maximum capacity. They think they found a weak point in our security." Admiral Rodriguez's weathered face showed concern. "The Meridian Collective has ties to 17 different spacefaring civilizations. Whatever we feed them will spread quickly." "Exactly," Sarah replied. "Which is why everything they're stealing has been carefully designed to teach anyone who studies it exactly the lessons we want them to learn." The data being fed through the quantum tunnel included technical specifications that would lead any analyzing civilization to 3 careful calculations. First, that Earth's technological capabilities were advanced, but not overwhelmingly so. Second, that human military doctrine relied heavily on conventional force deployment. And third, that Earth's primary defensive capabilities were concentrated in its orbital grid. All 3 conclusions were false. "Quantum intrusion is withdrawing," Dr. Patil announced. "They think they've succeeded in their covert data extraction. Analysis suggests they'll need approximately 72 hours to process what they've stolen." Sarah nodded. "Just enough time for us to implement the next phase." Status of the Artemis network. The chamber's main display shifted to show a vast web of quantum-entangled nodes spreading throughout nearby star systems. While the galaxy had been watching Earth's obvious orbital defenses, humanity's true defensive infrastructure had been quietly expanding through dimensional space for centuries. "The network is ready," Admiral Rodriguez confirmed. "The moment they try to exploit the vulnerabilities we fed them, they'll trigger the quantum resonance cascade." "And learn that attempting to hack Earth's systems has consequences," Dr. Patel added with a grim smile. "The feedback loop will temporarily disable their quantum processing capabilities without causing permanent damage. A firm but gentle reminder that we're not as vulnerable as we appear." Sarah moved to the center of the command chamber, studying the galactic map with its overlays of political alliances, trade routes, and power dynamics. The Raxan Concordat's diplomatic channels were alive with encrypted transmissions as they processed Earth's revelation. The Meridian Collective would soon be spreading their stolen intelligence throughout their network. And dozens of other civilizations were watching, calculating, and reconsidering their assumptions about the supposedly primitive humans. "We've maintained our deception for centuries because humanity understood something fundamental about power," Sarah addressed her staff. True strength isn't about having the biggest weapons or the most advanced technology. It's about controlling what others believe about your capabilities. The displays showed new quantum signatures approaching Earth. Diplomatic vessels from 3 different civilizations, all suddenly eager to establish relations with the humans who had hidden their true nature for so long. Let them come, Sarah continued. Let them probe and study and analyze. Everything they learn will reinforce the image we want them to see. And behind that image, we'll maintain our real advances. Admiral Rodriguez completed the thought. The technologies and capabilities that no one has even thought to look for yet. Dr. Patel's cybernetic interface flashed as new data streamed in. The Meridian Collective has begun distributing the data we fed them. Initial analysis shows their member civilizations are already adjusting their diplomatic stances toward Earth. Sarah watched as the galactic political landscape began to shift in response to humanity's carefully crafted revelations. We spent centuries preparing for first contact, she said quietly. Now we'll show them why. Not through force of arms or technological superiority, but through the careful application of understanding how different species think, react, and make decisions. The quantum networks hummed with activity as humanity's long game continued to unfold. In the vast game of galactic politics, Earth had just revealed itself as a player, but the true extent of humanity's capabilities remained hidden. Layers of deception wrapped in truth, wrapped in carefully crafted misconceptions. The real question wasn't whether other civilizations would try to penetrate those layers. It was what they would learn about themselves in the attempt. The Galactic Council chamber was nothing like the sleek, minimalist designs favored by most spacefaring civilizations. Housed within an ancient asteroid converted into a neutral meeting ground, its rough-hewn walls still bore the marks of primitive mining tools. The humans had insisted on this location for the first multi-species diplomatic summit, and now Sarah Chen understood why her predecessors had chosen it. The chamber's crude appearance was itself a message. Appearances can be deceiving. The Concordat cannot accept these terms. The Raxan first speaker's crystalline form pulsed with agitation. Unrestricted quantum communication privileges would destabilize established hierarchies. Sarah watched the other diplomatic representatives' reactions. The Meridian Collective's cybernetic envoy was calculating probabilities at light speed. The Zenth Empire's gaseous ambassador swirled in patterns that indicated intense interest. Most telling was the silence of the Voidborn Syndicate's representative, a being of pure energy contained within a temporal field. The age of restricted information flow is ending, Sarah replied, her voice carrying through the chamber's acoustic enhancement field. Earth's emergence has already demonstrated the futility of technological segregation. The human delegation's quantum tablets displayed real-time analysis of every species' physiological responses. 3 weeks of careful information release had fragmented the traditional power blocks. Now came the crucial moment. Perhaps, Sarah continued, we should discuss what happened when the Meridian Collective attempted to probe Earth's defenses. The cybernetic and voice processors audibly whirred. We have no knowledge of. The quantum resonance cascade that disabled your processing centers was designed to be temporary, Sarah interrupted smoothly. The fact that we could have made it permanent, but chose not to, should inform this discussion. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of translated protests and demands for explanation. Sarah let the chaos build for precisely 12 seconds before raising her hand. The simple human gesture, combined with the subtle activation of subsonic harmonics through the chamber's acoustic field, brought immediate silence. Earth has maintained a facade of technological limitation for centuries, she said into the quiet. That time is over. But ask yourselves, if we could hide our true capabilities for so long, what else might we be concealing? Dr. Maya Patel's voice came through Sarah's neural link. Multiple quantum transmissions detected. They're all contacting their governments. Good, Sarah subvocalized. Implement Phase 2. Throughout the galaxy, quantum networks suddenly pulsed with new information. Technical specifications for basic quantum shielding technology. Deliberately outdated by human standards, but revolutionary to less advanced civilizations. The effect was immediate and calculated. The Raxan first speaker's neural patterns shifted chaotically. You cannot simply distribute restricted technologies. The specifications we've released are already in development by 12 different civilizations, Sarah countered. We've simply accelerated the inevitable. The real question is, will the Concordat adapt to a galaxy of equals or cling to hierarchies that are already crumbling? The Voidborn representatives' energy field fluctuated, their equivalent of laughter. The humans understand. Power structures based on technological superiority are inherently unstable. Precisely, Sarah agreed. Earth proposes a new framework: open quantum communications, shared technological advancement, collaborative defense against external threats. External threats. The Zenth ambassador's gaseous form condensed slightly. What external threats? Sarah gestured, and the chamber's holographic system activated. The display showed the edge of known space, where something massive was moving through the void between galaxies. That, Sarah said quietly, is why Earth chose to reveal itself now. Whatever's coming, none of us can face it alone. Admiral Rodriguez's voice came through her neural link. Multiple quantum signatures detected. The Arthesian Dominion and the Proxima Collective are requesting emergency admission to the summit. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The pieces were falling into place. Humanity had spent centuries preparing not just for first contact, but for this moment, when the galaxy's power structure would be forced to evolve. Earth's quantum networks detect approximately 30% of what's approaching. She continued, we suspect the Voidborn can see another 40. The Zenth's dimensional sensors might capture 15. But together, the chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Centuries of competition and hierarchical positioning had left the galaxy's civilizations vulnerable. Earth's emergence and subsequent actions weren't just about revealing hidden strength. They were about forcing cooperation. The Concordat, the first speaker, began, neural patterns stabilizing into new configurations, would be willing to discuss modified terms for quantum communication privileges. As would the collective, the cybernetic envoy added. Sarah nodded, watching as centuries of carefully laid plans culminated in this moment. Humanity had hidden its true capabilities not out of fear, but because they had seen something coming that would require the galaxy to unite. The carefully managed revelation of Earth's power had been orchestrated not to dominate, but to catalyze change. Then let's begin the real discussion, Sarah said, activating the chamber's full holographic capabilities, because what's approaching is just the first wave, and we have less time than any of you think. As the diplomatic summit transformed into a strategic planning session, Sarah sent a coded quantum burst back to Earth. Operation Lighthouse was proceeding exactly as humanity's predictive models had suggested. The galaxy's civilizations would unite not through conquest or coercion, but through the careful manipulation of choice and circumstance. The true test would come when they discovered just how long humanity had known about the approaching threat, and why they had spent centuries preparing the galaxy's civilizations for this moment. The temporal observation chamber deep beneath Earth's surface was humanity's most closely guarded secret. While the galaxy debated humanity's revealed technological capabilities, this facility represented their true advancement. The ability to observe temporal probability streams. Sarah Chen stood before the quantum probability matrix, watching as billions of potential futures shifted and realigned. The approaching extragalactic threat had appeared in every single probability stream for the past 3 centuries. But now, for the first time, new possibilities were emerging. The coalition is forming faster than our original models predicted, Admiral Rodriguez noted, studying the temporal data. The Raxan Concordat's integration of shared quantum technology has accelerated by 37%. Dr. Maya Patel's cybernetic interface flickered as she processed the incoming data. The Meridian Collective's distributed computing network has already achieved breakthroughs we didn't expect for another decade. When they collaborate, they're remarkable. That's what we were counting on, Sarah replied, watching the probability stream shift. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our deception. It's our understanding of potential. The chamber's displays showed real-time updates from across the galaxy. The Voidborn Syndicate was sharing their quantum-fold technology with the Zenth Empire. The Arthesian Dominion's biosynthetic engineering was being combined with Proxima Collective's energy manipulation techniques. Centuries of carefully guarded technological advantages were being exchanged, improved, and synthesized into something new. They still don't know about this facility, Admiral Rodriguez said quietly, or that we've been watching the probability streams since before we detected their first quantum transmissions. Sarah nodded. And they're not ready to know. The temporal sciences are complicated. The risk of paradox is too high. The main display shifted to show the approaching threat. A vast swarm of quantum-negative entities, beings that existed by consuming the quantum fields that made up the fabric of space-time itself. In every probability stream where civilizations faced them alone, the galaxy fell. But in the streams where civilizations united, new probability stream emerging, Dr. Patil announced, her cybernetic eye tracking the data. 93% survival probability. That's the highest we've ever seen. Sarah allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. Centuries of preparation, of careful manipulation and stage revelations were finally bearing fruit. The galaxy was uniting not through fear or dominance, but through the recognition of shared potential. There's something else, Dr. Patil added, her voice carrying a note of surprise. The Voidborn, they've detected temporal distortions around Earth. They're beginning to suspect. Right on schedule, Sarah replied. Initiate final protocol. Throughout the galaxy, quantum networks lit up with a new transmission from Earth. Not technology this time, but data, carefully selected fragments of temporal observations showing potential futures. Not enough to reveal the full scope of humanity's temporal science, but sufficient to demonstrate why Earth had orchestrated such an elaborate deception. The chamber's communications array crackled with incoming transmissions as civilization after civilization processed the revelation. But instead of the chaos their models had predicted, there was something else. Understanding. They're not angry, Admiral Rodriguez observed, watching the diplomatic feeds. They're grateful. Because they're seeing what we saw, Sarah explained. The probability streams where suspicion and competition led to extinction. The futures where technological hoarding doomed entire species, and the one path that leads to survival, unity. The temporal probability matrix shifted again, new futures crystallizing as the galaxy's civilizations made their choice. The Raxan Concordat was the first to formally propose a galactic defense coalition. The Meridian Collective followed, offering their vast information networks. One by one, ancient rivals and suspicious neighbors chose collaboration over conflict. There's still the matter of the temporal science facility, Dr. Patil reminded them. Once they understand we can observe probable futures, they'll also understand why we couldn't reveal it sooner, Sarah finished. Temporal mechanics are delicate. The mere knowledge of probability observation can alter the streams. We had to wait until the coalition was stable enough to handle the revelation. The chamber's displays showed the approaching quantum negative swarm, still months away from the galaxy's edge. But now, instead of facing a fragmented response, they would encounter a united galaxy, armed with combined technologies and shared purpose. Humanity's greatest achievement, Sarah said softly, wasn't developing temporal observation, or maintaining our deception, or even orchestrating this coalition. It was understanding that true strength comes from lifting others up, not holding them down. Admiral Rodriguez studied the probability streams, watching as more and more converged on successful defense scenarios. We could have used this technology to dominate the galaxy, to become the empire we pretended to fear. And in every probability stream where we tried that, we all died, Sarah reminded him. The quantum negative entities can't be defeated by any single civilization's technology. Only by combining our knowledge, by finding new solutions together, do we stand a chance. The temporal observation chamber hummed with energy as it processed new probability streams. The future was no longer a set of scattered possibilities, but was beginning to solidify around a single path, one where the galaxy's civilizations stood together, their combined technologies and shared determination creating something greater than the sum of their parts. Send the final transmission, Sarah ordered. It's time for the galaxy to know everything. Not just about the temporal facility, but about why humanity chose this path. Why we spent centuries preparing not for conquest, but for cooperation. As the full truth of humanity's long game spread across quantum networks, the probability streams shifted one final time. The future crystallized not around conflict or domination, but around a simple truth that humanity had understood from the beginning. The greatest power isn't in keeping others down, but in helping them rise. The quantum negative swarm approached a galaxy transformed, not by fear or force, but by the carefully orchestrated revelation that together they could achieve what no civilization could accomplish alone.